Shout out to Rubido for sponsoring this video. Wait until the end to see how you too can sponsor a review or any other type of media on this channel. So I'm not a religious person myself, but when asked to review something of a religious nature, I wanted to make sure I'm respectful and open-minded about the story being told and its morals and Aesop's presented. Let it be known that I know a good amount of Christians, one of which even helped me with this review, so shout out to you, Christian friend of mine, Naez the Fox, who helped me research certain scriptures and passages in proper context. That being said, this might be one of the worst retellings of the book of Exodus and the story of Joshua that I've ever seen. You may have seen the reviews for this disaster of a movie propping up since about last year, but I never seriously looked into it until I actually watched it. And now, I think I can tackle this mess. So what separates this from other Christian media, and why does everyone care about it so much? We can find out more and learn a little bit about its anthropomorphic qualities here on How Furry Is It? If you didn't know, like I did researching this story, the tale of Joshua is one of courage and bravery, one that brings Christians closer to God through its tale of patience, forgiveness, and strength in the Almighty. While the story on its own might be mighty fine, this movie tried to do something more noble and creative with it by tying it to family drama. Joshua in the Promised Land is about a young lion boy named Joshua who has to deal with his argumentative parents.
Right, like tinkering around with that car again.
Hey, come on. This is my day off. This is what I'm gonna do.
Pretty relatable knowing how many kids out there have to face watching their parents argue and even lash out their frustration onto that kid as well. But once the boy returns to his bedroom, he's visited by the static apparition of guidance, a SAG, if you will.
Who are you?
Some people call me the best friend, but my real name is Christopher Andrew Eugene Bazioni at your service.
Okay, not really, but the ethereal texture on this guardian angel is so bad that it looks like one of those creepypasta TV static ghost things. Through a dream adventure sequence, Joshua and Chris travel back to the biblical era, where the boy must learn inner courage, taking the form of the figure he's named after, and learn a little bit about the Bible too. Okay, the elephant in the room is here. His name is Terrible Animation from the late 90s and early 2000s, and he's become a familiar face to many a YouTuber. The reason I haven't talked much about it is because, one, it's too easy to bash this movie for its animation alone, and two, I'm more concerned about its anthropomorphic qualities. But I've made you aware of it. Look at all the goofy, poorly textured, flat, JPEG-like clipping animation. But what else is there? The voice acting was somehow recorded in a studio, even though there are plenty of examples of clipped audio and just poorly done takes, which I can chalk up to either a really lazy or a very non-existent audio engineer, meaning they just rented the studio and equipment and f***ed around until they got what they liked. Or perhaps these distorted takes were the best they had out of all the other recorded lines. I mean, plausible given the quality of acting that would make your local community theater look like Broadway. If all you had on you in terms of talent are just people you're friends with, and you want to make an actual produced movie with artistic value and you're not just goofing around, then might I suggest some more experienced actors, and not these actors.
As you can see, Joshua feels kind of lost in the shuffle, and he doesn't know where to turn. That's why I think we should give him a little help.
The music in the background is fine, considering it was someone else composing it. Jim Lyon, the main guy, director, editor, animator, one-man army himself, couldn't just do it all. It might be the best part of this movie, unironically speaking, as it has a nice late 90s, early 2000s video game soundtrack vibe that I might just be nostalgic for. So the production is bad, but how is the story, the plot, the thing that glues together all of these terribly animated scenes together? Considering the source material itself, the Old Testament, The book told it better. This is a case where the book is better than the movie. Trust me. You could argue that there is a good story in here somewhere, but it's so amateur in pacing, dialogue, almost every facet except for music, that it just feels like a disjointed pile of doo-doo. The main conflict in the beginning and the end, where it's wrapped up, are so loosely connected to the actual story of Joshua, outside of just, yeah, be brave and God is good and all that not even a fourth wall breaking narrator can help. Either his commentary dumbs things down, or doesn't give enough information and makes me shout, "What?" multiple times in the film, because I'm not actually well versed in either Testament, Old or New, but more on that in the spoiler section. I mean, I suppose now would be the spoiler section, but if you know the story of Joshua from Sunday school, then you don't need to worry too much about spoilers, but click here anyway to avoid any potential ruiners of story. Now, I know the Bible has its fair share of symbolism because it's the difference between Jesus yelling at a fig tree for not being fruitful in a metaphorical sense I don't even know what the metaphor is for that, but if you take it literally, Jesus loses his shit at a shitty little fig tree for being shit. Just imagine that for a second, the Son of God yelling at a random little fig tree for being a bad tree. There's a bad tree. How dare you not be fruitful? So with that in mind, when quails suddenly appear in the desert, all in a giant flock, that made me raise an eyebrow. All the manna raining from the sky to feed the Hebrews like snowflakes was a bit weird too, but then Joshua sneaks right into Jericho like nothing after skipping past like the whole 12 spies thing. Yeah, there were supposed to be 12 spies that were supposed to sneak into Jericho. 10 of them got a little too chicken shit, and 2 of them found the strength to do so, but now we have Joshua just, like, he found the Emperor's clothes of invisibility, and everyone in Jericho just assumed he was some random idiot that bumbled into town from another kingdom and ignored his stupid face. Also, Aaron, who worked along with Moses, doesn't really show up despite having a decent presence in Exodus, but that is what happens when you squish a whole book in the Bible's canon into 50 minutes. And at the end, when Joshua's godly bravery and presence alone stops his parents from fighting, that was a strange take on the concept of courage. So my friend who helped with researching for this video sort of came to the same conclusion I did, in that this might have been a story about feeling brave and okay with yourself when your parents fight or argue and it's not your fault when they do that. Because adults have arguments and disagreements all the time, and this is something important that kids need to know, but what the hell does the story of Joshua have to do with that? I mean, you got a boy who goes through killing soldiers in battle, witnessing ritual baby sacrifice, and I guess he kills an apparition of the devil himself in his bedroom that turns back into stone block and then that disintegrates. That was weird. And you tie it down to, hey, kid, it's okay with mommy and daddy yell at each other. Seems like a case of needing more time to tell a story, a complete restructure of the whole plot in general, or just doing an old-fashioned retelling of the original story without the young boy Joshua. You can still include the furries though, can't forget the furries, because why else would other people watch this? Spoilers over. But now we get to the juicier part of this video. How furry is it? Let's delve into this Christ-like gift of a movie with 3 metrics I'll be using for this section. Those will be cast, furriness, and relevancy. Let's start with cast, or the proportion of main characters and otherwise that be furry. It may look like nothing but doll-like characters, dancing around and clipping into their own bodies, but they all are supposed to be anthropomorphic animals of some sort. You have the lion mom, lion dad, and lion Joshua, who likes sword fighting and sleeping. Joshua's guardian angel is a lion too. Most of the Hebrews presented in the film are lions or tigers, either Bengal or Arctic, however that works. The narrator himself looks kind of like one of the dolls on the boy's dresser full of doll action figure lions. And then you have these walrus tusk felines. I don't know what their deal is. You won't find any human characters anywhere in this film, although there is some mix of anthropomorphic and feral/regular animals, present in the film, and we see the goofy Pluto dilemma still rings true. If you're not familiar with this term, I'll explain it more in the next section, but basically, it describes the idea of there being two distinct levels of anthropomorphism between animal species. For example, Goofy and Pluto are both dogs, but Goofy is clearly more anthropomorphic. In Joshua in the Promised Land, we see quail as regular quail birds, while lions and other feline species kind of act like the dominant human quote-unquote species. I actually cannot tell what some of these species present in this film are entirely due to the poorly rendered character models, but I know for a fact that they're not regular old humans. That gives us a rating of high for cast. Next is furriness, or how visually furry these characters look. Again, poorly rendered bodies, dancing around on screen. You know what I mean. Makes it hard to distinguish not just what kind of animal these characters are half the time, most of the time, but also what characteristics they have that would separate them from regular humans and regular animals. Like, do they have actual fur or just skin? How coarse or soft is their fur? Why do they not have tails or seemingly paws either, but still have the basic head shape of a lion, mane and all? Even then, the goofy Pluto dilemma is still at play here, since anything that isn't feline is still an animal, while the lions act like the quote-unquote humans. I'm putting quotes around these words because they describe a dynamic between human and animal from a human-centric point of view. Case in point, the Calf idol, where the Hebrews worship a more pagan god rather than the Christian one, and that doesn't make him very happy. You have to think about these things when you make your furry content, otherwise it's just kind of confusing. I've come to learn this was someone's first foray into filmmaking, especially with 3D animation, and it shows given that it took 4 years to make this, and this looks like more of a hardened learn-as-you-go product. As someone that's worked with 3D animation for 1 semester in high school, the kind of computing power you need, I mean even just for Premiere Pro or After Effects, it's kind of drastic compared to just normal use. So imagine doing that not on today's hardware, but early 2000s PC hardware. What I'm saying is that I understand the difficulty with amateur projects, but that doesn't mean it's not garbage to look at. With that said, it's hard to nail this one down. They look like perfectly normal furries, but the animation doesn't give it any style or personality to their furriness. So what do I do here? I guess I'll give it a rating of medium-low to be safe. Finally, we have relevancy, or how relevant their animal or furry nature is to the main plot. Let me address something kind of important. The symbolism of lions and cattle horns in the Bible. If you didn't know, lions are basically used to describe God in a positive way, and Satan in a negative one. Lions are fearless, and they're seen as leaders. That's why they call it a lion pride, and not because they're all LGBTQ. Oh shit, it's Pride Month. I'll have a video on that soon. Maybe, don't worry, I'll get to it. Anyway, the animal symbolism is only skin deep and metaphorical, where it's just a very easy visual representation of either good or evil. Felines good, cattle horns and goat horns evil. Because it represents paganism, and that makes God mad, because pagan cultures of the past used to have animal-like deities based on species like goats and cattle. No, my bull character Burger does not count as a pagan item of worship. I've tried, it doesn't work. I only have a meager 2,000 and something subscribers and not like millions, so clearly it doesn't work. And get this, there's only two lion roars throughout this movie, and it's so out of place. I get the meaning behind them, one used as a intimidation by an angered father and the other a sign of successful courage later on. But outside of the religious symbolism, this whole movie ain't too furry, chief. I'm going to go with a rating of low. Let's break it down, shall we? A high in cast, medium low in furriness, and low in relevancy. That boils down to a final rating of medium low. Now, do I hate this film? No, because I only hate films that bore me to tears or morally conflict with my better judgment as an empathetic human being. This is just some silly so bad it's good movie spotlighted by the YouTuber reviewer community. And as you know, I happen to like that genre of film most of the time. I've done plenty of reviews of these types of movies. So it fails at being a compelling retelling of a classic Bible tale, in a way that's made me laugh out loud, question its existence, learn something new about religion, and overall, entertain me. Safe to say, I love this trash as it is treasure to me. Before I go, I want to explain that this video is my first ever sponsored review. Special thanks to Robedo on YouTube for giving me a whole $15 this month to review any media of his choice. And he picked this one. I'm not judging. I actually enjoyed reviewing this. He also wanted me to shout out one of his friends, simply named Shape, who streams games on Twitch like Super Mario 64, Luigi's Mansion, Animal Crossing, other Nintendo games. I'm not too familiar with streaming a game like Animal Crossing, for example, but it does sound interesting. I will put links down to their social media, YouTube, Twitch, other info in the description. So thanks again for that. And if you yourself want to have first pick for a review, then all you have to do is give me $15 or more per month and become one of my sponsors. I'll talk about anything you want, as long as it's furry and appropriate for YouTube. This has been Gregor, no to the devil, Reindeer, with How Furry Is It? Share this video with your friends if you want to. Let me know if you liked this movie as well, or what Christian messages you got from this review in the comments section. You can check out my social media in the description as well. There I have my Twitter, my Instagram, Telegram, a link to my personal Discord server where you can interact with other fans of my videos, and that includes my Patreon supporters. And you can also subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want more Anthro-analysis and antler antics.
Hey Holly, could you come near me? Can't you see it? I am here waiting. You and me, we can take on the world. Hey Holly, your eyes are so pretty. Can't you see? The sparks are just flying. Will you give me a hand?
Joshua, I want you to pitch your tent next to mine from now on. I want you close by at all times.
I can't do that.